Welcome back, folks, to my final installment of the WWE Money in the Bank review series here on WrestleRant. I am Graham Jason Matthews, and today we're breaking down the 2014 installment. Now, Money in the Bank last year was one of the very few pay-per-views in the last couple of years since I started watching pay-per-views live. Was one of the very few events I did not catch live. I did not catch as it happened. I was at work that night. I'm the kind of person that if I don't watch like the first part of it, or if I don't watch the first hour or whatever, I don't want to watch the rest of it. I think I came home at like 11 or something. I was way too tired. I just watched the next day before I went to Raw. And, watching it back, maybe that's what it was, but watching it back the next day, a 3-hour pay-per-view on the network, I just thought it was a very boring show. I mean, had it not been for the opener, the other two ladder matches, this show probably would not have gotten as much praise from me. But overall, because I thought the undercard was lousy, they did not announce many of the matches on the undercard. They just kind of threw them out there as random happenings. I just didn't care. But still, watching it back, I got this pay-per-view on DVD for Christmas. It's not like I asked for it. I just got it as like a random gift. So I watched it on DVD last just a couple days ago, and I enjoyed it. I thought I enjoyed it this time around more than I did the first time, just probably because the circumstances were different. But I did think it was a good show on the whole, and continued the strong streak of Money in the Bank pay-per-views, and hopefully that continues to be the case tonight with tonight's installment. But kicking off this show was the WWE Tag Team Title match, the Usos defending against the Wyatt family, Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. Now, these two teams had such amazing chemistry together. They had a million matches over the course of 2014 throughout the entirety of the summer last year, and their matches never ceased to entertain me. They were always so great. They always found ways to make their matches entertaining. This one was no exception. Perfect in the opening slot of Money in the Bank. I was glad it did not get pushed to the pre-show, much like the Usos match was in 2013 and their amazing match with The Shield. What match was better? That's really up for debate. I mean, early on it was a bit slow, it was a bit formulaic, but as they kicked it up a notch, they picked up the pace down the stretch. I thought this was a phenomenal matchup, and the first of many matches they would have that summer. Remember, they had a rematch at the Battleground pay-per-view the following month in that 2 out of 3 count falls match, which was also equally excellent, if not better than this bout. So I love this match, thought it was great, a lot of cool tag team maneuvers. It was one of the Uso brothers, and I know it's sad to say, but I know it's been 5 years, and I still can't tell the two apart. And I know, one of them has a tattoo, the other one doesn't, but Jimmy, Jay, the names are so similar, they look so alike. I could tell them if they're talking, because I know Jimmy has more of a personality than Jay, because he's married to Naomi, but looking at them, I just can't tell the difference. So one of the Uso brothers jumped off the top rope. The other one followed suit for 2 splashes consecutively on Eric Rowan to pick up the pinfall victory. And as I said before, this would not be the last time we would see these two teams in the ring together. So a great way of kicking out the show, an awesome WWE Tag Team title match. Up next, the Divas Championship, Paige defending against Naomi. A pretty nice match. I mean, it was well wrestled and all. Probably one of Paige's better matches as Divas Champion. She had a solid reign as Divas Champion, but I said this at the time and I'll say it now. I think one of the reasons why people just didn't connect with her was because we really knew nothing about her. I mean, people that watched NXT were cheering her on, as I was, but for the newer fans, I know she just debuted, won the title out of nowhere on her first night in. Love that angle, but the follow-up was lousy. She just kind of won matches at random. She was kind of a vanilla character. It wasn't until she turned heel that summer that people started to kind of attach themselves to Paige and kind of get more invested in her character, and now we know a lot more about her, especially with her tenure on Total Divas and getting to know her a little bit more. But at this period in time, people just didn't really care. Naomi was another one. They were telling a story with her and Cameron, so at least there was some sort of story being told in this contest. The match itself was a good match, nothing of note really. Like I said, one of Paige's better matches as Divas Champion during her first reign, but Naomi and Cameron at least had a story going into the contest. They were teasing tension between the two. Cameron was happy when Naomi got hurt and she lost the matchup, but she would act all concerned, to Naomi afterwards, whatever. So a slow burn for the heel turn of Cameron, so I thought that was really nice to see. But yeah, a nice match for what it was, well wrestled, not the most intriguing matchup, but the crowd was kind of dead for the most part, but they did get invested at some points with some of the cool maneuvers. So a nice match from Paige and Naomi. Paige retains the Divas Championship. Up next, one of those filler matches that I mentioned before, Adam Rose versus Damian Sandow. Now, at that time, and I am still to this day, a Rosebud. I mean, I love Adam Rose, love the gimmick. They obviously dropped the ball with it, and as the fan favorite, as a heel, not turning him into Ray LaPon or Leo Kruger in the last couple of weeks since that E60 special is something I'll never know the answer to. I'll just never understand why they're not doing that. But anyway, at this period in time, they were still trying to get him over. He had debuted a couple weeks before this, kind of just aimless and directionless at this period in time. Damien Sandow came out, and this is around the period in time when he was doing all the impersonations. He came out dressed as Paul Revere, because this event emanated from Boston, the TD Garden in Boston. So I guess it was kind of fitting from where they were. People just, they didn't really care. It's amazing, because this guy was the same guy who won the Money in the Bank ladder match 1 year prior. And a year later, he's a joke, And I know he made the most of it. I commend Sandow. I don't blame him. It's just the way they were booking him. And I know they caught fire with the Mizdow gimmick. And now, fast forward a year later, he's back to being an undercard guy. He's back to doing impersonations, despite how over he was, how popular he was late last year, going early this year with the whole Miz shtick. I'll just never understand how they continue to just fumble the booking of Damien Sandow, so to speak. The match was okay. It was barely really much of note. Adam Rose picked up the win, and that was really much it. The only thing of note for me watching this match was seeing Sean Burke, a New England Championship Wrestling native wrestler over in the Massachusetts area. He worked as one of the Rosebuds, so that was pretty funny to see. Rosita, I think, worked as a Rosebud as well, so that was kind of funny. But other than that, the match was basically what you would think it would be, basically what you would expect it to be. Up next, the Money in the Bank ladder match for a shot at the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at any time and any place of the winner's choosing. So the combatants included Rob Van Dam, Jack Swagger, Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose. So originally there was going to be 7 guys in the matchup. Bad News Barrett, Wade Barrett, King Barrett, whatever the hell you want to call him, got injured at the SmackDown taping the week prior, so it was dwindled down to only 6 guys. They didn't add a replacement. It really didn't matter. Kind of like the year before in the All-Stars ladder match when Kane got, that was a storyline injury, not legitimate, and it became just 6 guys. They didn't find a replacement. That was kind of the same case here, and I don't think it hindered the match at all. I would have loved to see Barrett in there, but truth be told, he probably would have won. It's not like he was going to be scheduled to win or anything like that back in like 2012 or 2011 when there were rumors of him winning. At this period in time, there were not rumors of him winning, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, the only 2 people that really had a chance of winning this match. So going into it, I was excited given the talent pool, but the only real people I looked forward to, I thought were going to win were either Rollins or Ambrose. Ziggler was not doing anything. You think he's not doing anything now. At this period in time, he was literally not doing anything. He was basically just floating around from match to match without any real direction. Same thing for Kofi Kingston. RVD was feuding with Barrett, and that was pretty much it. And Jack Swagger wasn't doing anything either. So Ambrose and Rollins, although they were the only real 2 guys to have a shot at winning this thing, I freaking loved this match. A lot more than I thought I would, considering how predictable the outcome was. Everyone had their chance to shine, especially Kofi Kingston, who ascended the ladder. Rollins, it looked like, I think it was right after Ambrose got taken out. I think it might have been legitimate or storyline, whatever, kayfabe. But Ambrose got taken out of the matchup with a shoulder injury. He walked to the back with officials, against his will, but it was something that had to be done. So in the meantime, Rollins ascends the ladder. I think this is where it happened. He goes to the ladder. Everyone's thinking, oh shit, he's going to win here. And then Kofi Kingston comes up, knocks off Rollins. The place goes nuts. For thinking that Kofi, wow, holy shit, this guy might actually win. And he's also from the Boston area. I know that's not where he was born, but I think that's where he resides. I know he went to college there. That's where he won the U.S. Championship a year prior. So the crowd's going nuts thinking that he's going to win this thing. And when he took out Rollins, he did a backdrop bottom, or I know I always mix up how you say that, the back body drop, whatever, to Rollins on one of the ladders behind him. It was a crazy-ass spot. The place went crazy. Kofi Kingston almost won. They had the camera shot right on him. It looked like he was going to unhook. I was like, holy shit, Kingston might win. And I think it was Ziggler that stopped him from winning. So Ziggler was nuts here. RVD had a lot of cool spots. He almost did a 5-star frog splash from atop one of the ladders before Rollins pushed him off. Jack Swagger delivering I think it was a superplex to RVD from the top of the ladder. That was pretty nuts. So everyone having their moment to shine here. This matchup was great and an extremely entertaining matchup, and my favorite of the 2 ladder matches of the night. But in the end, though, Ambrose ended up running down after everyone was taken out. Ambrose comes running down the ramp, Miz style from like 2011. Place goes crazy for Ambrose, and as he's climbing up the ladder, he takes out Rollins, but out comes Kane to help out Rollins and help him win the briefcase. And Rollins, the new Mr. Money in the Bank. So I thought this was an incredibly entertaining matchup. And even though you knew who was going to win, either Ambrose or Rollins, and more likely Rollins, everyone still had their moment to shine. The in-ring action was great. Kofi Kingston having that brief moment of that 15 seconds of fame. I know it's 15 minutes, but in this case, it was 15 seconds of fame for Kofi Kingston. An awesome spot there. Rollins taking the bump of the match with that back body drop on the ladder and behind Kingston. So, great match. Really enjoyed it, and the right result as well. Up next, Golden Stardust taking on Rybaxel. A good match. It was decent for what it was. I think I enjoyed the match from Payback a little bit more. I didn't like it then when it first debuted. I don't like it now. The Stardust shit has to go. I know he debuted it like 2 weeks before this pay-per-view, but, I just wasn't into it. I just thought he was much better off as Cody Rhodes. I still think that to this day, and they teased it earlier this year, and they dropped the ball on it. Whatever. But, I feel like the chemistry they had, Gold and Stardust was good. I mean, Goldust and Cody Rhodes, whatever. They're a good team. I just wasn't a fan of the whole Stardust shtick. The crowd was kind of into it. It was a decent match. Like I said, well wrestled, just not as good as the Payback match. I thought that one was better. Fine match. And then after, Stardust picks up the victory for his team. A nice little finishing sequence. I think they had a Ryback kick out, or Axel broke it up. But Ryback was going for the shell shocked, and Cody Rhodes, Stardust, whatever, reversed it into into the crossroads. So that was a really cool finishing spot. But that was not one of the match. It was Cody Rhodes, I think, rolling up Axel, or I think he rolled up Ryback for the win, or Axel. I'm not really sure who it was. They win the match. Axel attacks Stardust afterwards, and Goldust and Stardust perform their double team finisher on Axel. Fine match, but I just didn't really see the point, and they just want to get him on the pay-per-view. Didn't really care about it, especially since they did rematches for, multiple times after this anyway. So, fine for what it was. They just didn't really care all that much. Up next, Rusev versus Big E. Again, another really nice matchup. They got more time than they did at Payback. But it's weird, because I thought that match at Payback was better than this one, much like the previous match. Although they were given more time, I just thought that match was better. I don't know, because maybe it just felt like a repeat. There were a lot of the same spots. Rusev, it was kind of boring for the first half of it. They were into Big E, just not as much as they were in Chicago at Payback. A fine match, a nice win for Rusev, but again, just kind of a rehash of what we saw at Payback for the most part. It was a nice match, but had we not seen the same exact thing 3 weeks earlier, maybe I would have been, a little bit more open to the matchup and been a little bit more positive about it. But nice win for Rusev. That's all that I can really say about it. Up next, Layla versus Summer Rae with Fandango as a special guest referee. Now, I hated this whole bullshit love triangle. I thought this was total garbage. No offense to anyone involved. I like Summer Rae. I love Layla. Fandango, never been a huge Fandango fan. I'm a fan of his athleticism and him as a wrestler. The gimmick I've just never really been high on. But this whole love triangle was a complete, utter disaster. People just did not care. They didn't care going into this match. They didn't care during this match. And they didn't care during the aftermath either. Because Layla was a heel. Summer Rae, you thought was going to be babyface, but she was a heel too. Fandango was still a heel. There was no one to cheer for in this entire thing, and they ended up flopping it. They made Layla and Summer Rae, despite being rivals for so long, they made them tag team partners. Fandango went nowhere. Summer Rae and Layla, they're not even on TV nowadays for the most part, and if they are, they're losing. It didn't do anyone any favors. I thought it was a wasteful match, and no one cared. That it was well wrestled. Sure, it was kind of a throwaway bout. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but it just didn't make any sense. They probably could have given that 3 minutes to someone else. I respect them for having 2 women's matches on the show, but this one just felt like a complete waste of time because the whole feud was a waste of time. So that I thought was dumb and easily the lowest point of the night because no one cared. I didn't care. Just a complete and total waste of time for this matchup. And then we get to the main event, an 8-man ladder match to crown a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion after Daniel Bryan vacated the belt due to injury a couple weeks prior to this, excuse me. The combatants included Alberto Del Rio, seriously, he was in this matchup, Sheamus, Bray Wyatt, Cesaro, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, Kane, and John Cena. So the only one that really felt out of place in this contest was Del Rio. No one thought he had a snowball's chance in hell of winning this thing. And it's funny, too, because I was at the next night's Raw in Hartford, and he was on the Superstars taping with R-Truth. So why even bother? The guy was gone from the company less than 2 months after this. So his placement in this match was a complete waste. Kane, I thought, I understand why he was in there. The Authority wanted, a member of the Authority to win the championship. I get that. But John Cena beat Kane in a qualifying match, and a stretcher match or something. Then Kane ended up in the matchup anyway. So what was the point of that, But still, he was fine here. It was an enjoyable matchup. I liked it. Not as many crazy spots in the earlier Money in the Bank ladder match, and not as many crazy spots as you would expect given who was in there. It was just kind of a big cluster. You had a lot of cool names in there. Del Rio was obviously out of place, like I said before. Sheamus, Bray Wyatt, Cesaro, who was being pushed at that period in time. He did not suffer his first loss until the next night on Raw for whatever reason. That didn't make any sense. And to Kofi Kingston, he hasn't been the same since, or at least up until he formed the tag team with Tyson Kidd. But yeah, I thought it was a well-wrestled match, and everyone kind of held their own. Everyone had their cool spots. But for the most part, though, I just, I was kind of underwhelmed. Maybe not because of the ending outcome, because John Cena was easily the most logical guy to win the belt. Just seeing him win the belt for the 15th time was like, this again. I realized they were in Boston. I realized he was the one to face Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. It worked out well. Probably would have been, more than likely would have been Daniel Bryan had he not gotten injured. But, from an in-ring action standpoint, I thought it was good. Easily, I'm ranking right now. I'm writing an article for, it should be up by this point by the time this video goes up on Sunday. It should be up on Friday or Saturday. Ranking every ladder match in Money in the Bank history of the pay-per-view, not the match overall. And this one was kind of down at the bottom because I thought it was a good match. I enjoyed it. Just thought 8 people for, especially when it's, star-studded guys, not up-and-comers. The only real fresh faces in this matchup were Cesaro, Bray Wyatt, and Roman Reigns. And that was about it. We already had Cena in the title picture before. Kane, Orton, Del Rio, Sheamus. It was the same old, same old. So it was entertaining for what it was. Just 8 people in the same match. It was just kind of, it became too much. Everyone was kind of taking turns doing their spots. And it reminded me of the 10-man Money in the Bank ladder match from WrestleMania 26 from 4 years earlier when it had 10 people in it. That was way too many people. I enjoyed that match much like this one, but with so many people, so many gears turning, you're not able to focus on each individual competitor. Like we saw in the earlier matchup with the Money in the Bank ladder match. That one was even more predictable than this one. I enjoy that one more. So kind of goes to show that less is more when it comes to Money in the Bank ladder matches, or just ladder matches in general. But still, enjoyed the matchup. Finish came with John Cena. Or the crazy spot of the matchup, the only memorable part that comes to mind when I think of this contest, and I only watched it a couple days ago, was when Sheamus was ascending the ladder, and it's really hard to describe, but the ladder that was going up to the title belt was tipped over, and there was a ladder in between that ladder that was keeping it up on its side, and Cesaro was climbing it, Sheamus was climbing it. That was a crazy spot, something innovative, but everything else was pretty much, ho-hum, had seen it before, but still a good match, though. Finish came John Cena delivering the AA to both Kane and Orton, taking Orton out, or delivering an AA to Kane, delivering an AA to Orton on top of Kane, climbing the ladder, winning the championship, a 15-time world champion in WWE. So that made a lot of people groan, but like I said, in the aftermath, in the long term, it made the most sense. It's not like you're going to put the belt on Reigns that early, or on, Bray Wyatt or something, and have them get beaten by Brock Lesnar, just get annihilated. Because Brock Lesnar had to win that match, and John Cena, and especially in the fashion they did it in, was very impressive. So John Cena was the right guy for the job, literally and figuratively. But still, on the whole, though, I thought this was a good show. I thought the 3 matches that saved it from being a total bore fest were the opener, which I thought was excellent, as I said before, the Money in the Bank ladder match, which I would give the nod to as the match of the night, and the final ladder match, the one for the championship. Although I was not too high on that contest, it was still, for main event, by main event standards, I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it, and the right result. I know John Cena was not everyone's favorite guy to win that match, but in the long term, though, it made sense. So on the whole, I thought it was a good show. I give it a thumbs up. Not as great as some of the other shows. I thought the 2013 installment was better. I thought that's the thing. The other shows that I talked about, the 2013 show, 2012, 2011, nothing's going to top 2011. And the 2010 shows, they had the 2 ladder matches, and then they had 2 very, very, very good world title matches early on. On this show, you only had the Money in the Bank ladder match, and then the ladder title match in the main event. That's why the undercard left so much to be desired. I was so bored by all the other undercard matches. 5 undercard matches I just didn't care about. The Divas title match, Rose and Sandow, the tag team with Golden Stardust versus Ryback, Rusev and Big E, and Layla and Summer Rae. They weren't terrible matches. They were just so boring because very few of them had the right build-up, and they just didn't really care. But still, on the whole, though, it was an entertaining event. I would suggest that you go out of your way to watch it, or specifically for the Money in the Bank ladder match, and maybe the opener, and maybe the main event. before tonight's Money in the Bank pay-per-view live on the WWE Network. So that being said, I still don't know what my work schedule is for Sunday. I'm taping this a few days in advance, but I may or may not have live coverage. I'm not banking on it. I think I will be working when this pay-per-view happens, but I may or may not have a live coverage of the pay-per-view on nexteraWrestling.net. So stay tuned for that. And also, if I don't have live coverage, then I will have my full review of the show either up by Sunday night or on Monday morning. So be on the lookout for that. But speaking of which, you can check out my full reviews of Money in the Bank, past installments of this pay-per-view on nexteraWrestling.net. My thoughts on the 2011 show, 2012, 2013, and 2014 is the very show. My full written reviews of Money in the Bank up on nexteraWrestling.net. But of course, before the pay-per-view tonight, make sure to find me on social media at WrestleRant on the Twitter, on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews, and also right here on YouTube. Make sure to share, subscribe, like, and comment. All support is greatly appreciated. Have a great rest of your weekend, folks. Enjoy Money in the Bank tonight, and I'll be back on Tuesday as we kick off my SummerSlam reviews, starting with the 89 installment, 1989. Gonna have a lot of fun reviewing those shows. Thanks again for listening, guys, and I'll catch you guys down the road.